before you got into HR, because this was not your intended stopping ground. Like this was not your intended path, which we'll get
No.
to later on. But before this became your career, what did you think of HR?
I didn't really ever think about
Mm,
HR. I worked in when I was employed, I was a stay-at-home mom for a long time, but when I was employed in my youth, I never even considered HR because it was never anyone that I had direct access to. I knew my coworkers, I knew like store managers, I knew the district manager maybe, but otherwise I had no real interactions with HR, so I didn't have this overarching idea of what to expect of someone in that role.
Um, so for me, it was similar. I was working at not-for-profits, and like most of the HR was like one person, and
Yeah.
they're cool, like whatever. It was fine. It was basically like I didn't really consider it. When I started working in the corporate world, I was really surprised by like how big the departments are, how complex they were. And something that stood out to me, and I'm interested in your opinion of this, is that like businesses or business leaders or even business units can kind of treat HR in one of two ways. And that doesn't mean that's how the HR people are or want to be treated, but they can kind of be treated in one of these two ways. Either they treat them like ticket takers, like go do this thing, like here's our order and you go do the thing, or they treat them like a business partner, like someone who has a seat at the table. And it's like a real distinct difference, like of how these businesses or leaders or business units can interact with people, and then like how effective HR could be. But before we go any further, any thoughts on that, like that specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can relate to actually both of those scenarios in the company that I currently work for. Um, HR is broken out into kind of several different parts. So I'm in people services, which is more of the human resources operations side of things. And then we have our human resources business partners. And then payroll is another section, talent acquisition is another. Um, so for me in my role, I experience both things. I experience executives who want me to have a seat at the table, who want to have input from where I come from my perspective on the business, my experience with our stakeholders and employees. And then I have some other executives who say, I need this report, get it to me yesterday.
Yeah. Um,
So,
in that
yeah.
space though, like how do you roll with that? Do you just interact with people with how they come to you? Or do you have a position about like, well, actually, no, I want to be treated like this, or I want to work with you like that? Or is it a little bit of both?
I treat everyone exactly the same, regardless of how they come at me. It's always with a gentle hand and kindness
Mm,
because you never know if someone, I mean, I work fully remote. I've never met anyone at my company in person. I don't have the nuances of what they're like, what their personality's like. If it's a person reaching out to me for the very first time, I don't know what they've experienced in their day
mm,
to make them come at me in a certain
yeah,
way. So I treat everyone kind of with kid hands,
mm,
like kid gloves, I should say. Like, hey, thank you so much for reaching out. I'm happy to help you with this. I need clarification, or so on and so forth. And generally, tone will soften. People will come back in a more generous, or I don't know, appreciative manner. Give everyone the benefit of the doubt.
so like around HR, and if we think about it again, just kind of like big picture stuff, if you were going to explain to someone like how HR actually works, that didn't really have an understanding of it, what would that look like? Like, what's that explanation?
So, human resources works to ensure a wonderful employee experience while protecting the business. Um, in the sense that we're making sure that all applicable laws are being followed, which for a global company is not easy. I mean, just being in North America, it's state by state. For Canada, it's province by province. So ensuring all the rules are followed, making sure that you're protected, making sure the company's protected legally, and ensuring, again, people can just show up, do their job, reach out to someone kind to answer questions, and not have to worry about anything else.